What up, Ben? What's the story here?
Well, I'll wait for everybody here, and then we'll talk about it a little bit, and then we'll play a little section of the tape as well.
Bien. Je vais essayer de faire un petit commentaire en français. Comme vous pouvez le constater ici, ce sont les endroits où le frère Branham a eu à passer des expériences surnaturelles. Donc notre petit pèlerinage continue avec des frères et des sœurs qui sont venus de partout, de tous les États ici aux États-Unis. Alors on va écouter le frère Ben sur la petite histoire concernant cette zone.
Kind of where everything is. But this is the valley where Brother Branham would come and he would do a lot of his cattle roundups. He talks a lot about when he would come up west and he was being a cowboy. A lot of the time that he was in Colorado was in this valley. And some of the brothers and sisters were asking me if they were able to drive up in this area back in his day. Yeah. A lot of times they didn't. A lot of these road systems weren't in. They would do it on the back of a horse. So you'll talk about them all the time, how they would be riding on the back of a horse, right. Rounding up the cattle and all of that.
Riding on the back of the horse to come up here?
Exactly, okay. And rounding up the cattle on a horseback.
Okay.
So as you can see, there's two rivers that come in. So behind this hill is where the East Troublesome is, and then over on this side is the West Troublesome, and they all merge kind of right where we stopped at those cabins down at the bottom of the toe of this hill.
Right.
So those two rivers come together and make that Troublesome river where we were driving up the road. It was on our left, coming up through here. So Brother Branham talks about that quite a bit. And then when they were taking all of their cattle from this private land, once we get up over this hillside, it turned into national forest. And like I was sharing with some of the other brothers and sisters, they would raise Hereford cattle here on these private ranches, and how they would limit who could put their cattle on the national forest was if you could raise a ton of hay, then you could put one head of cattle on the national forest. So that's how they would regulate who and how much cattle was put on the national forest. So if you guys notice those big hay bales that are down there, they were all stacked up. One of those hay bales is about 1,000 pounds. So two of those hay bales is about a ton. So if you could put up two of those hay bales, then one of your cows could go onto the national forest. So a lot of times they would go on the backside of this hill, they would run their cattle from this private land up the backside of that hill, and then they would go up into the national forest on that backside where these troublesome ones, and you'll see the Monument Creek and all of that area on the backside of that hill. So if you go down to the Monument Creek, then you can see where that kind of bottleneck was, where they were putting all the cattle onto the national forest, where he had his leg up over the horn of the saddle, and they were coming through with the blood tag. So like I was sharing with some of the other brothers, is there's different types of cattle, and many of them we passed. We saw some black Angus with the black cows. We passed some red ones that were red Angus. We passed some Charolais. There was one bull that was a Hereford bull that was down here at the bottom of this hill, and it was the Hereford Association that had the rights to the public land at the time, and they would only let the Herefords on there. So Brother Branham talks about the blood tag. That's what they were looking for, is they wanted full-blooded Hereford cattle on the public land. So they wouldn't let all the black ones and all of that on the public land. It was just the Hereford Association. So it didn't matter, you'll hear him say, it didn't matter what brand it was, it didn't matter whose cattle it was, but the park ranger was only looking for the blood tag to make sure that it was a purebred Hereford. So, and he would type that too. It doesn't matter if you're Baptist or Pentecostal, it doesn't matter what your brand is, it just matters that the blood's applied and that you're a full-blooded Hereford. So we do have a short quote here where he talks about that. And this is in Hear Ye Him, 1958. He preached this, which is kind of ironic. He preached this on July 12, 2016. Today's July 11th. So it was about this time of year that he was talking about this area back in 1960. that was what he was talking about. He was talking about this valley that we see down here and all those cattle going up behind that hill over to the backside. So if you go down to Monument Creek, you can see where that kind of bottlenecks and was coming up into the national forest. So you guys can kind of put the pieces together. When we get up there, it's kind of hard to see all these pieces come together, but that's where this map really helps. Which this is north and south. We're going to be going into Bighorn Park. This is the Troublesome Valley Ranch. Again, this is a circle map, so it's sometimes it's hard to visualize. But when we're looking south, when we're looking that way, we're actually looking south. We're somewhere on this building right here, looking this direction. So you can see the Troublesome Creek right here, and then what we call the East Fork Troublesome that comes in right here. Monument Creek is